So, welcome to my series on experts in real estate. And today, we're with Jesse Mills from Straightforward Home Inspections.
Hi, how are you? I'm doing all right. How are you, Mark?
Good, good. Today, we're just going to talk about what you do and what makes you a little different from other inspectors. And the things you do that add value for your clients and some of the things you see that people maybe don't think about. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
And I tell all my clients this. I was in construction for over 25 years, residential construction, various things. And now I don't want to fix anything. I just want to point at it and say, you know what, you should have that fixed.
That's what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that's what needs to
I
be
don't want to do
fixed.
the work, but I'd
Right.
sure like to help make sure that you know what you need to get done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, about 6 years ago, I started my own inspection company, and we're doing very well. And I love it.
Yeah.
I just love what I do.
Are there multiple licensing standards for inspectors? That was something I was wondering about. So I know there's a state. Is there anything beyond that? There's some state requirements.
Not really. As far as licensing, no.
Yeah.
Licensing is just, like you said, like your license, my license,
Yeah.
you get that. There's a prerequisite that you need to take. You take your classes. But here's the thing. Once you get your license, it's kind of like a teenager with a new license in a car. You're not a great driver right off the bat,
Yeah.
So just because you have your license doesn't mean that you're an expert. You again get certification as time goes on, and then there's experience and things like that. So to answer your question, there's no outside special licenses, but there's classes that I would take that certify me for different things.
So those are more advanced, or is there a higher standard? Like you're an ASHI inspector, right?
Yeah, I'm an ASHI inspector. That's an acronym for American Society of Home Inspectors, and they've been around since 1976. They actually help write the state standards, because Illinois has a minimum standard that we're supposed to communicate to every client on an inspection, and ASHI helped write those. But the ASHI standards are more involved, so that there's a higher standard than the minimum.
Higher than the minimum. So,
Right.
So having an ASHI inspector is important for a client because they know that they're going to get a higher level of service, right?
Correct. Yeah, definitely. And there's a pool. It's just not all the resources that we get from being in such an organization is
Continuing education and things like that.
yeah, and things like that, and just even feedback. There's some inspectors that have been around since the early 70s that are still there. So it's nice to ask. You'd be able to ask questions. When needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. Yeah, having someone that's seen it all, right?
Yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Little checklists and things like that.
Yeah, great. Okay. So what is it that you do that you think a lot of inspectors probably don't do? Like, what's your how do you heighten the experience for your clients and for the agents?
Well,
to be honest.
I'll tell you what. So I think what separates me personally from other inspectors is I have an advertising and sales background before I was in construction. So by the time I was 13, I already had tens of thousands of conversations with people. I sold candy door to door. So I can, when I'm on site talking with people, I can start seeing if they're getting too much information. I read faces, is there, am I telling you too much? And then they just start fluttering, and okay, so I just dial it back and things like that, and tonality and things like that. I'm not there
But then others might be the other way where you say, wow, they really want to know everything. So we'll talk about it for a while and make sure that...
Exactly. And then there are, I love note takers. They'll come and they'll ask questions and people can follow along and they do things. So you got that. So it's just really the presentation of everything. The information doesn't change. It's just how is it presented.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jesse, when you're on an inspection, how into the process do you get? I mean, do you get into dirty crawl spaces, jump on the roof? I mean, do you go to the ends? Because I've actually been where I had a listing and I was selling, and then their buyers brought an inspector who wouldn't get on the roof, or didn't bring a ladder, or wouldn't get into crawl space. I mean, do you do all those things?
Oh yeah, I bring an array of ladders to to the site. I have a 28-foot extension ladder. I got all these different types inside. I love heights. I used to build scaffolding on North Shore mansions, like back in the day. Yes, getting into crawl spaces is a very adventurous process for me. I like it. It's a balance between, getting dirty and, writing the report, which I spend a lot of time on the reports. But if you go to our website, straightforwardhomeinspections.com, it'll say we're neither afraid of heights nor spiders.
Okay. Gotcha. And what about the reports that you generate and stuff like that? Do you...
So when I first became an inspector, you get inundated but with like use our system. So I did all of my research and I picked a system that I thought was the best, and I will stand by that. I think it's the best, system that's out there. It's more user friendly because I write all my reports for a 10-year-old to understand.
Yeah.
All right. So there's lots of pictures. It's picturific. That's what I call it. My reports are picturific. So there's, it may be a 50-page report, but it's really more like a magazine and not a telephone book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So. And there's lots of links for people. So if I'm talking about GFI, if I'm talking about this and that, and people aren't going to remember everything during the inspection, they can go through and click on a link, and then that'll pop up. In the back of it, I give every client the equivalent of a 400-page home reference book. So if they want to learn about high efficiency furnaces before they hire somebody, they can read up on it real quick, easy to find, and then ask intelligent questions.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So overall, what would be like, if you're just gonna say to someone, hey, I'm looking at 5 different inspectors. What's the one thing about you that's really gonna stand out? What would you say to someone?
Well, the first question everyone asks all the time, and my office manager can attest to that, is like, oh, what's it cost? What's the price? And that's really, to me, it's a nice question, but it should be the last question. It shouldn't be the opening question. So first of all, like, what are the qualifications? What are your qualifications? How long have you been in business? Do you talk to people during the inspection? And I do. It's a Q&A while we're there. It's an interactive process, and I think that's what separates me from a lot of it right there. And then it's about the report afterward. The report has to be easy to understand. And then, there's lawyers and real estate agents like yourself that need to, so I have an action list. And that action list takes all the recommendations, maintenance or otherwise, and, maintenance summary items, and they just list them out. Clients and you can collaborate with your clients. You're familiar, so you can collaborate with your clients. You got, what about number 1? What about number 2? And you can be, miles away from each other, and then you can make notes, attach pictures, ask for whatever you want, and then check the box. And then at the bottom, when you publish PDF, when there's a button, publish PDF, then it articulates a nice little list. And you take all that other riffraff that you don't need out, and it's just very concise and simple.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but still thorough. Yeah. Still has everything, which I think is probably one of the most important things, right, that you could say for an inspector, is that they're just as thorough as possible, right?
Yeah, and not in a rush. And here's another thing. So I only do 2 inspections in one day. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. I'm never late. I never rush through an inspection. And then just like yourself, during the busy season, working like 16 hours a day.
Yeah. But making sure all the details are taken care of.
Right, all the details, very thorough. Yeah.
All right, and then after everything's all done with your inspection, do you make sure to stay in touch with your clients? Do you have some process for that? You respond
Definitely.
to them if they're asking
Definitely. The clients are there to ask questions, but sometimes that process is just so overwhelming that if they need to call me, it could be years later. It doesn't matter. We get back to each of our clients within 12 to 24 hours or less.
Jesse, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.
You bet.
Thank you. I'm Jesse Mills, Straightforward Home Inspections, working for you, fair and square.